If you're watching this video, it will give you more information about that news reflection, especially on how it's graded and a few examples, so you know what you need to include to be successful. So the rubric right here, make sure you include the name of your story and the source. In this case, our source is just going to be NPR. Make sure that your reflection is clear with specifics like names of people, places, terms, etc. that were mentioned in your story. So you might want to have complete sentences instead of bullet points, and make sure that somebody who didn't read your story would understand your reflection. All right, last part that you're going to be graded on, and this is the biggest part. The student reflected on how the story might affect their own lives or the lives of others. That can be you personally, your family, the people in your community, or even the people in your nation or world. That's kind of vague, so here are some examples. We're going to pretend that these 3 examples all read the same news story, and that news story is about how businesses are actually saving money by doing more work from home options, and people are projecting that they're going to continue offering remote work even after the pandemic is over. All right, so here's an A+ reflection. After listening to the news story about an increase in businesses offering remote work due to the pandemic, I feel hopeful about the future. So this is an A+ right away just because they give us some specifics about their news story, right? We know what that news story is about even without reading that news story or listening to that news story. All right, the rest, they kind of continue on that harder part of like connecting it to their own lives or the lives of the American people. I think it would help lower unemployment because people who might not have a vehicle to get to work can still have a job. It will also save businesses a lot of money, which means that they could hire even more workers or they can provide even better benefits to their employees. So right there, they're mentioning how this is going to affect the lives of the American people. Major downside is that people might not get to know their coworkers as well and could feel isolated and alone. This could lead to higher rates of depression in workers. So again, they're highlighting how it might affect people. All right, here's a B+ reflection. I listened to the story about how more people are working remotely and how that might continue even after the pandemic is over. Okay, they did a great job introducing that news story. We know what it's about, even though we didn't listen to that news story. They did lose some points on the rest of their reflection sheet, so you might want to pay attention to the rest of their reflection. Kind of think about what they might be missing and what they could add to make it better. I personally would not like to work remotely. As a student, I have a really hard time staying focused when I do my distance learning at home. When I'm at home, I tend to be in relaxed mode, even though I have assignments I need to complete. When I'm at school, I feel more productive because I'm in a different environment. Even though I'm surrounded by my friends at school, I still feel more focused. I feel like if I were to work remotely all the time, I would not be as productive. Also, if I needed to ask my boss a question, I would feel much more comfortable just asking them in person instead of having to type up an email about it. I feel like working face to face would be better suited for me. So this person still reflected, but it was mainly about how they feel instead of like how it's affected their lives, or it could affect their lives or the lives of their families or the lives of American people. They're focusing more on how they feel. At the very end, they kind of talk about how it could affect them, like they would have a harder time communicating with their employer. But the majority of it was based on how they feel. So that's how they got a B+ instead of an A+, is it was mainly just like I feel, instead of this could affect the lives of people by X, Y, and Z. All right, last one, a D+ reflection. So as you're reading this one, it's going to be super short. Make sure you kind of think about some things that they did wrong, which is why they got a D+. This story was about how businesses are going to let more workers work from home. It makes me feel good. I think I would like working from home. My parents work from home. They really like it. Sometimes they get frustrated, but I think they would rather be at home than at work. So this one is pretty basic. This is something I would kind of expect maybe from like a 6th grader, just because it's a very basic response, right? It's all about like, I would feel good, my parents do it, and they like it, right? That's a pretty basic response. So hopefully this helped clarify some of those expectations and what you can do to get an easy A on this news reflection assignment. If you have any questions, or even if you just want me to check it over before you submit it, go ahead and contact me at my email address. You can also text that phone number posted at the very, very bottom of that Google Classroom post. Have a great weekend.